Okay, let's go with Chris.
You have, yeah, but right there.
That one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It says here, Chris, that you used to be a bad Christian, a cultist, and you don't know what made the world, but there had to be a creator. Is that correct?
Are you talking to me?
Yes,
I am.
sir.
Okay, good. Well, I wouldn't say I was ever an occultist.
Okay.
As far as
Sorry about that.
I'm more. What I try to explain to the guy, I'm more in the neutral area. I did study the Bible for a very long time. At 13 years old, I was a churchgoer until my probably, mid-30s. It was actually studying the Bible for a lot of years that really turned me against the Christian faith. There's a lot of cruelty discussed in the Bible, and I'm not a cruel person by nature. But
Good for you.
what I did want to point out, and of course this ain't gonna be no type of, y'all said y'all want tangible evidence. Nobody's going to produce that. But what I do find interesting, to not only studying the Bible, but the Book of Enoch, a lot of ancient text talks about beings coming out of the sky. There's different accounts of these beings having a hand in creation of this planet. And if you study evolution, just to say it happened by accident without some type of guidance, that's where I draw a blank, because I'm like, I understand the theory to a degree. I ain't got no master's degree in biology or nothing like that, but
Me neither.
I got a good handle on it. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Sorry, I'm following
Okay.
along.
But I got a good handle on it, and I'm not saying that, evolution didn't happen. It very well could happen. There's a lot of things to support it did happen, but I guess where I'm coming from, who's to say that either an extraterrestrial force or a force outside of our knowledge, or what we can't test it, had a hand in the creation of this planet, this universe, or whatever. I mean, there's got to be something greater than us. I hope we ain't the best thing going.
So that's the thing. Sorry, why can't we just say there's something greater than us and it's the universe?
Well, see, that's the whole thing with me. I think there's, and like I said, this is a claim. It is going to be a claim, but to me it makes sense that they'd be a force that things we don't understand, because our knowledge is very limited as humankind. It's very limited. Mm-hmm. And we've not even reached the peak of our technology. I used to do telecommunication work. I understand, our technology pretty well, but we're still progressing, not only in technology, but knowledge and everything else. And I just think that, there's got to be, and I think there's a highly probable chance there's something greater than us.
Maybe.
Well, Chris, first off, I want to commend you, on your humbleness, and because you're saying that you don't specifically know, but you're saying that this is like, just based on what we're seeing is kind of amazing, and, I want as much of an explanation as anybody else. What Jenna and I are more against is really the people who say, I know specifically what this is, and let me tell you why, because if you fit this in here and this in here, then this is the explanation for the universe, and that's something that we're generally against. You mentioned creation, and then you mentioned evolution. One, I want to point out that those are really two different things, right? The observations that we see of genetic changes, animals in an environment changing over time, plants in an environment changing over time, we can pretty much say that is ultimately true. Whether or not there's a guiding force or some sort of created force that's, guiding the process, that's kind of a separate question. But I think you would agree with me that we can at least observe these changes to be true. There's very few people that would even deny that much. But even so, for us, I think Jenna and I would be happy to find any kind of explanation to see what created us, where we're coming from, what's the plan. But we haven't seen enough evidence to convince us of one claim versus another one, because we're talking about big deal things here, and it's going to take a little bit more than just a book someone there wrote about that we can make some connections to say, well, this must be the best thing. And I also like that you have to say that nobody can really provide evidence for this kind of stuff, which I agree. I haven't seen it yet either. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but, we have some reason to doubt just based on what we've seen here on this show and other shows like it.
I'm just curious what God you believe in now.
Well, I'm not. That's a tough question for me, because I'm not opposed to the God that Christians claim to believe in, but what I'm opposed to is the way they not only present their belief system, because studying it, just to give you an example, if you go back to the first century Christian and then go to modern day times, you're going to have a vast world of difference in just the belief.
Yep.
And there is a lot of books in the Bible that did not exist originally, or they can't find it. They don't know this. There's been a lot of stuff added in the Bible. There's a lot of translation barriers in the Bible, This does exist,
Yeah.
But So I believe, yes, I do believe there's a higher power.
Okay.
Of some sort. I do believe in a spirit, so to speak. Now,
so can I stop you there real quick?
Die?
I want to ask you some questions about the spirit, if that's okay with you,
Go ahead.
unless you have a point you're trying to make. I'm so sorry.
No. Go ahead.
So you believe there's a higher power or a spirit. Does it do anything? Does it say anything? Does it provide? What does it do? Can you try to answer that?
Well, if I believe I have a spirit within me. Now, how you define that, as far as define that, like what to do for me, it goes back to the. I'll give you a good example of what I believe it is. Okay. Was like the electrical impulse in your brain. Upon death, that goes away.
Yep.
Okay. Could that electrical impulse in your brain, the electrical force inside your body, that does exist, and that is a scientifically proven fact, that exists.
Energy.
Could that be what is referred to as a spirit throughout, let's say, ancient religious belief systems?
Well,
as far as the spirit of, let's call it spirit of God. That's not exactly what I believe. We'll call it that.
Well, but are you saying that you have a spirit and there is a spirit that's a God, yet you're not the God? There's a separate spirit.
I have my own individual life force within me. Yes.
Spirit's kind of a separate concept.
Well, I just want to ask him real quick.
Yeah.
So you say that you believe that there is a spirit or higher power, and then you said that you believe that you have a spirit. So I'm wondering, what's the difference?
Okay, the spirit I have within me would be my own individual personal life force that's unique to me.
So why couldn't you be God?
Well, there's no shit. I hope not.
I'd like to go a little different direction, if that's okay with you.
No, go ahead. Do what you.
So, Chris, you're saying kind of what's commonly referred to as a soul, right? A spirit. You think that there's something that's in us, and you might attribute that to like an electrical impulse. Is kind of what I'm hearing that we all kind of had. My challenge to you is, if I could put that same electrical impulse into another person, right? If I put that, would that mean that my soul goes into that person?
Oh, I mean, if you put it like that, yes. And I don't personally believe that.
See, I don't think so either. And here's why I think that.
Then why would you say yes?
Well, here's why I think that, Chris. Here's why I don't believe that, too. Because I think that we're made of a lot of different things, right? That electrical impulse you're talking about is just one of the many things that makes me. You've seen there's medical studies that show that, if we get impacted at certain parts of the brain, then our personality changes. Maybe somebody who's been like that. And we know like Alzheimer's patients, for example, also change over time. And we can see because there's physical changes in the body that change our personality types, kind of change who we are. And I would say, well, if we can point to other physical aspects to who we are, and we can see that the physical components of us make us who we are, then why should I believe that there's a soul or something outside of what's physical to us?
Yeah. Okay. I'm getting messed up by a delay too. Let me turn this down a minute because I'm trying to listen to this and what? Okay. Yes, I understand what you're saying, and that's very valid. That's very valid. I understand that. And you're saying if you have brain damage, that you're not going to have the same functions as you've had prior to getting brain damage. Okay. Well, that's an organ in your body that's been damaged.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the actual electrical force that's in your body still existing there.
Because your impulse could happen.
You're right, because you're damaging an organ that controls your functions, controls your thought and everything else. So, of course, if you damage that, it's going to set you off. There's no doubt about it. But the force inside that body, as long as it's breathing, still exists inside that body.
Maybe. But if we take, so you're talking about a physical observational, like electrical force, right? Or are you talking about something?
It's been scientifically documented in studies of the brain and the body. They know it exists.
If we're talking about a physical force that we can observe, then wouldn't that mean that what we are is also just physical in that sense too? It's not necessarily a spiritual thing, right? Because it is within the physical realm.
Well, yeah, scientifically, no, they're not going to identify as that.
Okay.
But I just find it awfully. See, it goes back to. Going back to ancient texts, not necessarily the Bible, just a lot of ancient texts that talks about the spirit leaving the body. Okay? Well, upon your death, that electrical force ceases to exist within your body. Now, the next question may be, where does it go when you die? Well, see, that's where I'm going to say my personal belief is that you exist in an afterlife. That's my personal belief. Now,
okay, so that's a different...
I don't know. I'm not there yet.
That's a different thing. So I want to explore that a bit. What makes you so sure that there's an afterlife?
I'm not sure there's an afterlife.
But you say that's a belief that you have.
I don't close the possibility of that being there.
But you do believe there is.
I don't say, well, no, there's no way there is one. well, I'm not there yet. I truly don't know. So I'm not going to say,
Okay.
you
don't
do
know.
this or you don't get saved. I don't believe that way.
Okay.
I don't believe you don't accept Christ, you're going to burn in hell for eternity. I don't necessarily claim that belief.
Gotcha. But I thought you just said you did believe there was an afterlife, though. Like it was a personal.
I personally do believe
that.
that.
So I want to explore that a little bit. Like, why are you
ahead.
personally convinced?
That's that would get to a topic that's probably deep. Okay, as a child, I did not believe in ghosts and paranormal things happening and stuff like that. I did not believe in these things. It was actually on two separate occasions, two incidents that happened to me that opened my eyes that, there's something to it. And I ain't talking about these shows on TV, all that stuff's hokey to me, but in reality, two things in my life that's happened to me that I cannot explain. I could not find a rational explanation for it. And I didn't know what else to call it. Now, true, I didn't know what else to call it, but until I find a rational explanation as to what I experienced, and it totally
What's that rational explanation?
Well, if I tried to find a rational explanation, that's the whole thing. I tried to say,
did you
what
find
is
one?
this? No.
Okay.
I didn't. And that goes
so
back
what does that
to say,
mean?
well, I didn't find one. Now I can.
So what does that mean when you
but
don't find an explanation for something? What does that mean?
Well, it depends on circumstance. It ain't just, the picture fell off the wall, so it's automatically got to be a ghost. It could be a vibration. It could be somebody walking upstairs. I mean, there's 100,000 questions I would ask what made that picture fall off the wall.
Right.
But this is an actual visual sighting of what they call an apparition. Okay, like I said, I wasn't raised up believing this stuff. Ghost stories were just stories. That's all it was. But I saw this with my own two eyes. And I looked at it for longer than 5 seconds, totally sober. So, I almost wrecked looking at it.
So my take is that if you don't find a rational explanation, then you don't know what happened, right?
Well, truly, I don't know what it is, but I don't know what else to call it because I've never witnessed it
but that's
before.
the thing is if you don't know what happened, then you don't know what happened.
Well, true enough. I mean, that's fair because ultimately I don't know what happened.
Right. So
but,
I wouldn't say I don't know. Hold on. I wouldn't say I don't know what's in Dan's mug over there, so it must be Kool-Aid. No, I don't know. Right? And if there's no way I can look, I can't just come up with something and say that must be it because I don't know.
What would you do if I actually had Kool-Aid in this cup right now?
Hey, but would that mean that I have a rational reason to believe that?
No, but I'm just saying that'd be awesome.
Right, but
well, no, but
does that make sense?
If Dan's Kool-Aid or he had looked in his mug see Kool-Aid, you're not going to know. And it could have some vodka in it too. You don't know.
Right. So if
you look over there and you see Kool-Aid, you know it's Kool-Aid. But what I'm saying is, I saw what I saw. I saw what I saw with my own two eyes, stared at it for over 5 or 6 seconds, and I didn't automatically go there. It was 2 or 3 years later I realized, hey, that must have been what it was.
But it was 2 or 3 years later that you had this realization that must have been what it was, but you have no evidence. You have no reason to believe that.
Yes, I have.
Can you verify it? Can you repeat this process at all? And can you test it? Can you try to can it happen again?
Like I mean, how would you put that to a scientific test?
I don't know. I'd try to repeat whatever caused it to happen.
I mean, we want to think rational. I agree. You want to be rational about stuff, and yeah, when the opportunity calls for it, put it to the test when you don't know.
And then when you put it to the test, and then you find out that you don't know, well, then that's when you realize that you don't know.
Well, true enough, I guess. But what I witnessed was not something that I've seen since or before. And
well, then that means that you don't know what happened.
Beaten and burnt to death. I mean, that was another thing there. That what happened is that a trailer burnt down. A girl was tied up, beat to death, and they set the trailer on fire with gasoline. And the spot in the trailer where she died, which would have been the bedroom, tied up in her bed, is where I saw this. We'll call it apparition, whatever it was I saw. And putting all that together, I find a lot of things are saying, hey, that's something.
But what does that? But does that mean that something is God, or is a spirit, or is
God.
something?
I do believe it was according to the people who are into the paranormal stuff, it was what they call an apparition. It was a spiritual force.
So why would we take the word of the people who do the paranormal stuff as truth?
Well, it's a fair enough question. Why would you take somebody who's but that's the only thing.
Well, can you try to think about and answer that for me? I know you're trying really hard, and I really appreciate how honest you're being about saying that you don't know, and so I really appreciate that.
That's my policy. Honesty is the policy, right?
Yeah, so can you try to think about an answer? When you say that you think that it must have been an apparition because those paranormal people said that it must have been, then why are we taking their word for it? Can you try to think about why we would do that?
That's the only label that I've ever been familiar with to call it. I don't have no other label for it. I don't have no other tag to put and say this is what this is. I can't create my own word for it.
But could you say that you don't know what happened?
Well, of course I'm going to say I don't truly know. I've done said I don't truly know.
So then why are we saying I don't know, therefore it must be an apparition?
That's the only thing of me trying to draw a conclusion, because what I saw was abnormal. It wasn't something you'll see on a normal basis.
Maybe.
It wasn't nothing that I've seen, like I said before, since. But it was a very odd happening.
Yeah, a lot of odd things happen, don't they?
You know. Well, of course, odd things happen.
Right.
But should we always say that it's of our perception of this world as we know it, or what we call normal everyday things?
I mean, maybe. If it's something that's happening and I'm walking down the street and I see something that's happening that shouldn't happen, do I have any reason to believe that there's something outside of this planet that's causing it to happen? Or should I say, oh, something happened that I don't understand?
Well, at that point in time, once you make a statement you don't understand, as I do, if there's something I don't understand, I try to research and study. I try to understand it.
Right, and you can try, and I appreciate that you did, and I appreciate that you also come down to the point that at the end of the day, you don't know what happened. My question is, when you realize and you can admit to yourself that you don't know what happened, why are we going that extra step to say that it must be an apparition?
Because I think it's human nature to...
Okay, that's fair.
In situations where you don't... Well,
that's fair.
It's human nature.
It is human nature to come up with answers for things that we do not have answers to. Is that right?
I think it's part of your psyche or your mind or your person to, as many people do. I'm the type of person, I want to know the answers. I want to know truth. I want to know facts.
Right. It sucks to say I don't know. It sucks.
Even if it goes against what I may believe.
Right.
If I'm showed otherwise, then I'll be open-minded to it, for sure.
Okay.
But
you know what?
2 years searching, what was this? You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, yeah, you're doing awesome. Thank you so much for calling, Chris. We got a couple more callers to get to, but I wanted to thank you for your honesty, and just keep thinking about it, and call back again and let us know what you come up with, okay?
Well, I'll sure call back again, but, I might want to do a different topic next time.
Sure thing. Try again.
Can I say something real quick, though? You're a lot more easier to look at than Matt. I just want to let you know that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah. I know you're talking about me there, but yeah, it's cool.
All right.
Yeah, he must have got us confused.
Yeah, no, he was being real honest, and I appreciate that.
So, spirit ideas of ghosts and stuff like that. I mean, that's pretty cross-cultural. That's pretty cross-religious.
A lot of people believe in ghosts.
And it is fascinating to be like, oh, why do we have a lot of these, kind of observations if there wasn't some truth to it? And it is contextual, right? Like some people are just tired and they think they see something, or the morning of. I remember I thought I saw my dog when my dog died when I was a little kid. I thought I saw him in the backyard for a second because I missed my dog. Like that's something that happens, and there's different kinds of explanations depending on the context of the belief. But Chris was saying, I mean, I think at the end of the day, he thought it was a ghost, but, he still wasn't sure. He was still open to other ideas. So that's something that's good to have. Like, always keeping an open mind for this kind of stuff.